Hey, welcome back to the show. Special edition, Total Financial Solutions KHTS candidate forum here, talking about, the city council candidates. There's a lot of things happening in our city, a lot of reasons to get out and vote. Most people don't bother to vote, if you will, when they go out and they're talking in the communities, nothing's going on, and life is good, less turnout. When life is crazy, more turnout. Well, I think you need to get out and vote anyway. This is part of what we're all about here in the city of Santa Clarita, coming up on 200,000 city residents, about 250 if you take all the way out to Agua Dulce and Castaic and Stevenson Ranch. And this gentleman to my right is one who wants to be your next city councilman, Mr. Alan Ferdman. Alan, thanks for joining us.
Well, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be exciting as we ask a few questions here to learn about you, learn about what it is that makes you tick. And first of all, I want to make something really known and really important, which is the fact that you have a wonderful wife name. Your wife's name is Pamela.
Yes.
That's my wife's name.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so that's good.
That's good.
It's not the same person.
Right away, we have something in common.
Yeah. Tell me about, in your life, give us a little bit about your background. What have you done in your life up to now?
Well, I've been a resident out here since 1965. I'm a retired aerospace engineer. I spent 40 years, at Lytton Guidance and Control in Woodland Hills, and 6 years at JPL in Pasadena. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science and master's in software engineering, and I was an adjunct faculty member at National University for a period of time.
So as a faculty member, as somebody who was an engineer, supervising people, what was some of that background when it comes to supervising others? Have you ever managed people in your career?
Oh, yes. For the most part, I was a department manager, and I had at one time in the 4 departments I had was about 100 employees. And I have experience managing people and also empowering people to go get a good job done.
Well, one of the questions that I'd like to know is, looking at your background as a long-term person of this community, you've been here. What have you done been involved in your neighborhood, in your church, in any kind of a committee where you've had to lead people, other volunteers, get things done? What have you brought to that, and what that's all about?
Well, I've served on a number of city committees, but I started my volunteering out here in Santa Clarita in the 70s when the untimely death of Roger Wolf, who was a staff member at North Oaks Park. And for about 4 years, I provided staff services in the evening for the softball program.
What's that mean,
Wow.
staff services?
Well, there's someone in those days, they didn't have any timers, so someone had to go up every night, turn the lights on, go back up later and turn them off. And if something went wrong, they'd give me a call and I'd go on up there.
And that's a paid job, if I remember correctly.
It wasn't for me. It was certainly a volunteered effort.
Yeah.
Then for the city here, I think was very interesting was when Rick Putnam was the director of Parks and Rec. We formed a Santa Clarita adult softball committee, and it was one of the only committees here in the city that was not an advisory committee. It actually had defined responsibilities, and we managed the league playing rules for about 13 years. I chaired that group, and we made all of our decisions by consensus, and then we polled the league at every start of every league to make sure they liked what was going on.
Now, one of the things that you've done is manage people. That's an important characteristic in somebody that leads the city here going into the next decade, if you will, as we move forward in the changes that are happening. Traffic continues to evolve. Environmental issues continue to evolve. Some of those constant issues, day one, you walk in, city council, what is on Alan's agenda? What are you looking at and saying, these are the decisions I'm going to make, this is the number one issue of my candidacy, week one, day one?
I think the number one issue of my candidacy is to have a city council that truly represents our residents, that gives everybody in the city, no matter where they live, equal representation, no matter who they are, what religion they are, what ethnicity, how much money they make, or where they live. And right now I believe that the city council has kind of gone away from listening to the public. So the first thing on my agenda would be to establish policies where we listen to what the public has to say and we prioritize what we need to do based upon their wants and needs.
Now, you've spent a lot of time, obviously, in Canyon Country.
Yes.
And you've been an advisor there. Talk about the experience that you've had in the rest of the city. What have you been involved with there, or how has this been one city?
I'm glad you asked that, because the Canyon Country Advisory Committee, which I've chaired for the last 12 years, deals a lot with helping residents deal with city issues. And since we are the only surviving group of our kind in the city, we tend to have branched out and have memberships and dealt with issues all around the city. So whether it be talking to the folks in the Benelli Tract in Saugus, or having members that come from Valencia, we really just didn't want to change the name because we had name recognition with it. We didn't want to spoil that, but we really have dealt with the entire city right now.
Fabulous.
What is the toughest decision, Alan, you've ever had to make in your life, whether it be as a human being, as an individual, as a husband, as a father, somewhere in your life? And look, when you get past, I don't know, I think 15 years old, the list is already long. But the quality of those decisions change. The impact of those in your life change. So a tough decision when you're 15 or 16 or a teenager, all the way to 20s and 30s, and suddenly you become a father and a grandfather. What are some of those decisions, at least one, that was that toughest?
Well, as a department manager with 100 people, I prided myself in the fact that I arranged my budgeting and my scheduling so that I could avoid having to lay people off. But I did on one occasion, and only one, have to lay an individual off, and to actually go to somebody and talk to them about things that you absolutely know that they don't want to hear. That quite possibly is not because of their own, is not something of their own doing.
Yeah.
And having to give them those kind of bad news is a really difficult thing to do. And but unfortunately, there are times when that has to be done, and you have to do it in an honest and straightforward way, and make those kind of decisions from time to time. And it's not fun, but it's something you have to do.
Alan, the toughest decision is one that affects a lot of people, but as we finish up your time here, letting the folks in Santa Clarita get to know a little bit about you, tell me one of the weaknesses that you have and some of the things you've done to overcome that. So as an individual, we're not perfect. None of us are good in everything, but there is an area or two that we could say this is an area of improvement, an area I need to focus on. What are some of those things, to be a little real with us here?
Well, I'm someone that has the problem of taking on way too much at any one given time. And what you really need to do is you really need to delegate those kinds of things to other people so that you can maximize what gets done. And so what I'm always striving to do is find ways to delegate things so that I don't have to, or that I don't do them personally, and therefore maximize the amount of effort that you can get done at any one given time.
Alan, as we finish up this time, give me a 30-second why we should vote for you. What does it mean to cast that vote for Alan Ferdman for City Council?
Well, to cast a vote for Alan Ferdman means that every resident in our city is going to get fair and equal representation. It's the kind of thing that we need here in our city. Imagine a city council that's going to listen to you and be respectful of our community. So I'm asking you to join our team, vote Alan Ferdman, and together we will make a difference.
All right, folks, that's Alan Ferdman for City Council here in your city, City of Santa Clarita. Very important. You remember to vote. It's coming up when we continue with the City Council Forum. You're listening to me, Arif, Halaby, and Mark Murphy, my co-host, as we continue with our special guests, candidates for your City Council here in the City of Santa Clarita, as we continue on your plates for news, talk, and information. Go to hometownstation.com, click on Listen Live. You get a chance to listen to us live right now. If you're going to the office, you're going home, click on your computer, turn it up. You're going to learn about the folks that are going to represent you and make the decisions to help us keep Santa Clarita a better city. We'll be right back.